Hiroto looked up from his manga and found Reina leaning over the back of his couch, her golden eyes fixed on him. She didn't waste a second. A printed contract landed on the coffee table in front of him. The paper was crisp, every line demanding a signature he never imagined giving.
1 month. No questions.
No questions? What does that even mean?
You'll be my boyfriend for 30 days. Attend 3 events. No touching my hand unless I give permission. No questions. In return, I'll pay your rent for the next 12 months.
Rent for a year. I could actually survive.
But his throat was dry. His hands felt numb around the manga. Reina only waited, that unsettling smirk never leaving her face, as if she already knew the answer. The contract laid out its terms with brutal simplicity: 30 days of exclusive dating, attendance at 3 events, and an absolute prohibition on physical contact without express permission. One clause stood out in stark letters: no questions shall be asked regarding the purpose or details of the events.
3 events, and I can't even ask what they are. My rent is overdue. The electric bill came yesterday. I have nothing.
Your financial situation is a matter of record. I wouldn't have offered if I didn't know you needed it.
You checked my bank account?
I did my homework. Now, do we have a deal?
He took the pen from her outstretched hand. The nib touched paper, and with a single stroke, Hiroto surrendered to the absurd.
I'll do it, but I'm not happy about it.
Reina left without a word, the signed contract tucked beneath her arm. The door clicked shut, and Hiroto was alone with the weight of what he'd just signed.
She's been terrifying since high school. Tall, sharp-eyed, completely unreadable, but I've had a stupid crush on her the whole time, a secret I never told anyone. She was Yuki's best friend, always in my orbit, forever out of reach, and I was just me. So why me? She could pick anyone on campus. The question gnawed at him.
His phone buzzed, shattering the silence. A message from Yuki. How's the contract going?
My fingers went cold. I didn't tell anyone. How does she know? If Yuki is involved, then Reina's offer might not be what it seems. The contract suddenly felt like a trap.
A day later, Reina's message led him to a quiet cafe near the station. Inside, she was already waiting, a garment bag draped over the chair beside her.
The first event is a wedding. My ex is getting married. You will be my caring, attentive boyfriend. We'll say we've been together for 6 months.
Her ex's wedding? This is way more personal than I expected.
You'll wear this. I had it tailored to your measurements.
Hiroto took the suit, the fabric expensive and stiff under his fingers.
6 months. What should I say when people ask how we met?
We met through your sister. You tutored me in economics. I'll handle the rest.
Her story was airtight, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something much bigger.
After the cafe, they walked toward the station in taut silence, the suit bag swinging between them.
Give me your hand. We need to practice before the wedding.
She extended her own hand, palm up, as if offering a business deal.
Permission to touch her. I never thought it would feel this terrifying.
Their fingers met cold and stiff, no spark, no warmth, just the awkward friction of strangers pretending.
Loosen your grip. You look like you're bracing for a car crash.
They walked the rest of the way hand in hand, a clumsy mismatched rhythm that made him hyper-aware of every step.
At the wedding, remember, there will be eyes everywhere. If you flinch, they'll notice.
This isn't just about appearances. She's actually scared of that place.
She let go abruptly and vanished into the station crowd, leaving Hiroto alone with his racing heart and a new unspoken worry. The night before the wedding, a knock came at Hiroto's door. Reina stood there, backlit by the hall light, her expression unreadable.
We'll go over the seating chart and the guest names. I need you to remember faces.
She spread a printed sheet across his coffee table, but her hands were unsteady, a slight tremor that shook the paper.
Her hands are trembling. She's actually terrified. Reina, are you okay? You seem...
I'm fine. Just focus on the details, not on me.
The words cut sharp, but her voice cracked at the end, a fracture in the ice.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap. It's just tomorrow won't be easy.
This isn't about a contract anymore. She's in real pain, and she trusted me to see it.
Hiroto didn't press further. He simply nodded and poured her a glass of water, a silent promise to stand beside her at the wedding. Hiroto met Reina outside the small chapel, the afternoon sun harsh on her black dress. She looked like a sculpture carved from jet and shadow, beautiful, but carrying a storm behind her eyes.
She's so still, like she's bracing for impact.
Stay close.
They passed through the chapel doors and the scent of white lilies wrapped around them.
I'm just a stranger in a borrowed suit, surrounded by people who actually belong here.
Reina's eyes swept the congregation, a hunter checking for threats, until they locked on the man standing at the altar.
That's him, the ex. He looks ordinary. Why did he destroy her?
Reina's fingers dug into his forearm, not pain, just a desperate clench she didn't seem to notice. The organ music swelled. The ceremony began, and Reina did not exhale. The officiant's voice droned on, weaving the groom's vows into a tapestry Hiroto couldn't hear. A cold, wet drop landed on the back of his hand. He turned. Reina's cheeks were wet, her body utterly still.
She's crying in front of everyone, and not moving a muscle. It's like she's turned to stone.
Without thinking, he pulled a white handkerchief from his pocket and edged it toward her. Her fingers brushed his as she took it, a fleeting, trembling touch.
Don't ask.
Something inside him cracked. This wasn't just pain, it was a bleeding wound she carried alone.
He pressed his shoulder against hers, the smallest gesture, and felt her lean back almost imperceptibly. The ceremony ended with applause, but Reina hadn't moved. The handkerchief was clutched in her fist. Hiroto didn't speak. He just stayed, her silent shield in a room full of strangers. The reception hall buzzed with champagne and laughter, but Reina's grip on his arm never loosened as she led him toward the garden.
Smile. The photographer is watching.
They stepped onto the manicured lawn for the group photographs, her hand locked in his like a vice.
She's holding on so tight my fingers are numb, but she's trembling. She's really afraid he'll appear.
The photographer posed them beneath a flower arch, and Reina pressed into his side, a perfectly fake smile fixed in place. A voice cut through the chatter. "Reina, you came." The ex walked up, his new bride a step behind.
Kenji, this is Hiroto, my boyfriend. We've been together for half a year.
Congratulations, you two look happy.
Kenji's eyes dropped to their linked hands, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. Then he nodded and moved on. Reina didn't exhale until he was out of sight. Hiroto gently uncurled her stiff fingers, one by one, saying nothing. She lowered herself onto the bench, the fairy lights casting soft halos around her slumped form.
Thank you for that.
Do you want to talk about it?
The silence stretched, heavy with unshed words, until finally she released a slow breath.
He was a colleague of my PhD advisor. Met her at a conference 2 months before my proposal defense. He said I was too intimidating, that I made him feel small.
The laugh that followed was dry and hollow, a sound that had been practiced over years of pain.
Too intimidating? She built a fortress, but it was to protect herself, not to push people away.
It doesn't matter. It's over.
Hiroto let it go. The wound was open, but she wasn't ready to let him near it yet. 3 days after the wedding, Reina summoned Hiroto to the usual cafe. Her shoulders held less tension, but her eyes still guarded.
The second event is my family's annual gala. It will be worse than the wedding.
She opened a thick folder, revealing photographs with notes, each face cold, critical, aristocratic.
My father, my mother, my aunt who thinks I'm a failure. You'll study every detail. They will not be kind.
This isn't a party, it's a battlefield briefing.
They'll scrutinize your every word. Your studies, your family, your intentions. One wrong answer and they'll label me a lost cause.
What happens if I make a mistake?
They fund my PhD. If they think I'm unstable, they'll cut me off. My entire future depends on a single evening.
Hiroto stared at the dossier, at the cold, dismissive faces, and understood her family was another kind of battlefield.
I won't let them break her. Not while I'm standing beside her.
That evening, Reina marched Hiroto into a restaurant with white tablecloths and a constellation of silverware.
Outer fork is for salad. Do not touch the butter knife yet.
Hiroto grabbed the wrong fork, and her eyebrow arched sharply.
That one is for fish. Try again.
Even her corrections have this sharp edge, but her eyes aren't cold anymore.
He fumbled the wine glass, and instead of a reprimand, she let out the smallest breath of a laugh.
You're actually trying. That's more than most people do for me.
That smile, it's like sunlight breaking through a storm. I'd make 1,000 mistakes just to see it again.
Now the soup spoon. Scoop away from yourself. My mother will watch like a hawk.
By dessert, his movements were smoother, and she nodded with something approaching approval, a small victory in their strange war. Hiroto arrived at Reina's apartment, his tailored tux suddenly feeling inadequate as she opened the door in a midnight blue gown, her hair swept up and her eyes shadowed with anxiety.
She's breathtaking, but behind that perfect exterior, something's clawing at her. I can see it.
Ready? Everything we practiced. Use it like armor.
The ballroom swallowed them in gold and crystal, but the temperature dropped with every glance from the assembled guests. Her parents stood near the dais, their acknowledgement barely a nod, their eyes scanning for flaws. Her father's voice sliced through the hum. Still playing with that PhD, Reina? At least you found a man?
He said it like I was just another accessory she picked up. How does she survive this?
Reina's spine turned to steel, but a tremor ran through her hand before she clasped it behind her back. Her mother added, without meeting her eyes, "We'll talk later. For now, try not to embarrass us." The gala churned on, but the hostility hung in the air like a chill that no grand ballroom could warm. Near the champagne tower, an aunt's whisper cut through the din. Reina must have hired him. She's too cold to find a real man.
That's it. They won't break her while I'm standing here.
He set down his glass, crossed to Reina, and took her hand, a silent breach of the rules. Before she could protest, he faced the aunt with a confident smile and began a story crafted from thin air.
We met in the library. I was failing economics and Reina spent hours tutoring me. She was patient and kind. Nothing like the image people have. I fell for her then and there.
Reina's eyes widened, a fracture of shock before she leaned into his shoulder and laughed as if it were the oldest joke. The aunt, flustered, muttered something about youthful romance and drifted away into the glittering crowd.
That story, where did it come from?
The truth would have failed us. I'm not letting them hurt you tonight.
The dinner ended in a blur of forced smiles and cold small talk, but when Hiroto turned to find Reina, she was gone. He searched the ballroom and finally spotted her silhouette on the balcony, gripping the railing like a lifeline. He stepped outside. The night air was sharp, and her knuckles were white against the stone. Her hands shook violently, the same tremor he'd seen before, but now unchecked, raw.
They never see me. Just a broken PhD failure who needs a man.
Hiroto didn't fill the silence with platitudes. He just moved to her side, shoulder barely touching hers, and waited. The city lights blurred below them, and after a long minute, she exhaled a single, jagged breath. She leaned into him, just a fraction, her head tilting toward his shoulder without ever making contact.
She's letting me stand here. That's more than she's ever allowed anyone.
They stayed like that until the cold became too much, two figures on a balcony, sharing a silence that needed no words. As they turned toward the ballroom, Reina's clutch buzzed. The screen flared in the darkness. Caller ID, Yuki.
Just your sister.
She silenced it with a jab, too fast, too deliberate, and slipped the phone back into her clutch.
Why would Yuki call during a gala she's not attending? Unless she knows everything.
The rest of the gala was a blur. Hiroto's mind replayed Yuki's early text, her knowing tone, and now this call. Back in his apartment, he opened Yuki's message thread. How's the contract going? She had known before the ink was dry.
She didn't just know. She planned it. The contract. The events. Yuki pulled the strings. But is Reina part of it? Or did Yuki trick her too?
The contract that had felt like a trap now seemed like a cage designed by his own sister.
I need to know if her feelings are real, but if I ask, I might lose everything we've built.
The morning after the gala, Hiroto sat on his bed with his phone, the weight of last night's suspicion pressing him to act.
If I don't ask, I'll never know. I'll text her directly.
The chat screen read, "Why did you call Reina last night?" Minutes later, the reply came with a winking emoji. Yuki's text, "Oh, so she finally called? How's my little brother handling his fake girlfriend?"
Fake girlfriend? She's not even pretending it's real. Yuki is the architect.
Hiroto fired back. "Did you set up the contract? Did you tell Reina to pick me?" Her reply, "All I did was suggest a solution to a friend in need. The rest was up to you two."
Up to us? She's admitting she orchestrated it, but Reina's involvement is still a mystery. I need evidence. If Yuki's behind it, there'll be something left behind.
Hiroto went to the closet where Yuki had stored a box of her university belongings before moving out. He lifted the lid and sifted through old programs and tangled ribbons, his breath shallow.
Yuki hoards everything. If there's evidence, it'll be here.
His fingers brushed against a photograph tucked between postcards, its edges slightly curled. The glossy print showed Yuki and Reina at a university party, both younger, Reina mid-laugh, a date scribbled in the corner 8 months ago. His hands trembled as he turned it over. Yuki's looping handwriting covered the back. The note read, "Operation Contract. Get these two idiots together."
She gave it a code name. This was never a coincidence.
His heart hammered against his ribs. The contract, the events, his growing feelings, all a maze built by his own sister.
But how much did Reina know? Am I just a piece on Yuki's board?
He sat motionless on the couch, the photo resting between his fingers as if it might burn him.
If I confront Reina, I might shatter whatever this is. If she doesn't know, I'd be accusing her of nothing. But if she does know, then her tears, her vulnerability, were they part of the act?
He turned the photo over again, the words Operation Contract mocking him.
No. I saw her cry at the wedding. Her hands shook on the balcony. That wasn't fake. Whatever Yuki did, what's happening between us now is real. I'll protect that. I won't tell Reina I know. I'll watch and let her show me the truth.
He folded the photo and slipped it into his pocket, close to his heart.
If this was a setup, I'll make it real.
3 days later, Reina was already at their table when Hiroto arrived, her laptop open and a deep furrow between her brows. Her words were clipped, her shoulders rigid, the armor was back, heavier than ever.
How hard is it to make a latte? If this cup isn't right, I'll...
She's wound tighter than I've ever seen her. The defense is eating her alive.
He gently took the cup from the flustered barista and set it before Reina.
You'll ace it. Every professor at that defense is about to see the Reina I've watched all month.
Her hands wrapped around the warm cup, and the hard line of her mouth softened.
Why are you so nice to me?
Because I want to. I almost said it, but not yet. Not until she's ready to believe it.
The evening before the defense, Reina led Hiroto into an empty lecture hall, her private battlefield. She took the podium and began, but her voice caught on the first slide, a stutter, then a wrong graph.
She's cracking. I've never seen her like this.
Then her eyes found him in the front row. He raised a thumbs up, simple, steady. Her shoulders squared. The tremor left her voice, and the numbers and arguments flowed like a current she had always controlled. When the last slide faded, she ran down the steps, not waiting for the echo of her own voice to settle.
You're my lucky charm. I swear you are.
Before he could answer, she threw her arms around his neck, a quick, fierce hug that ended as suddenly as it began.
She pulled back flustered, but that hug, it was real. It was the most honest thing she's ever done.
The night before the defense, Reina's voice on the phone was threadbare. Hiroto grabbed takeout from the noodle shop and hurried to her apartment. He found her apartment in chaos. Papers carpeted the floor, and her hair slipped from its knot as if she'd been pulling at it for hours.
I couldn't think about food. You didn't have to come.
They sat among the mess, containers open, chopsticks moving through the silence that had grown comfortable between them over the weeks.
Only a few days left on the contract. Then it's over, and you'll be free.
She tried to smile, But the corners of her mouth gave way first, and the tears slipped free before she could catch them.
I'll miss this. Having someone who just shows up.
She's telling me she wants more, but can't say it. This is as close to a confession as she can get.
He set down his chopsticks and met her eyes, but he bit back the words that pressed against his teeth.
Hold on, just a little longer. I'll show her what this really is.
The streets were empty as Hiroto walked home, Reina's tears still burning behind his eyes.
All month I've been searching for Yuki's trick, but the real question was right in front of me. I love her.
In his apartment, he sat at the desk and opened a blank document, the cursor blinking like a second heartbeat. He typed, "Renewed contract. Term 1, no expiration. Term 2, no payment. Term 3, only the truth." The printer whirred, pushing out a single warm sheet. He picked up the same pen from the first contract and signed his name without hesitation. He folded the paper into an envelope and wrote "New contract" across the front.
Tomorrow, after her defense, I'll give her this. No matter how Yuki's scheming started, I'm ending it as myself.
Hiroto slipped into the auditorium's back row as the committee took their seats, the envelope a weight in his jacket. Reina stood at the podium, her posture unshakable, her voice cutting through the silent hall without a tremor.
As Table 3 demonstrates, the regression analysis confirms a statistically significant correlation.
Her eyes lifted, found him in the shadows, and the corner of her mouth twitched barely a smile. But it was his.
She's brilliant, and that tiny smile was just for me.
The committee's questions came rapid fire, but she batted each back with precision, her confidence building with every answer. The chair leaned back and pronounced the words that changed her life. "Congratulations, doctor." She rushed through the doors into the sunlit courtyard, scanning the crowd until she found him.
I did it. I actually did it.
He caught her in his arms, her laughter vibrating against his chest, and felt the envelope press against his heart, a promise for later. They found a quiet booth in the campus cafe, the late afternoon sun slanting through the windows as Reina settled across from him, still radiating disbelief and joy.
I can't believe it. I'm actually a doctor. All those months of panic were worth this. Hiroto, thank you for everything. The wedding, the gala, standing beside me today, I couldn't have done any of it without you.
Her voice caught, the giddiness draining into something heavier. She stared at her cup, her fingers tightening around it.
The month is almost over. I don't want to go back to being strangers. I don't want to lose this.
The confession hung in the air, fragile and unadorned. She wasn't looking at him, but her whole body was waiting.
We don't have to. I don't want that either.
What do you mean?
He felt the envelope in his jacket, the paper's edge sharp against his ribs, but he held back. The right moment hadn't come yet. Reina's text lit up his phone late that night. "I'll bring the rent at 10 tomorrow. See you then." He typed back a simple reply. "See you then." He moved to his desk where the signed new contract lay and slid a blank sheet of paper beside it. On the paper, he wrote, "This isn't a contract. It's a promise. I love you." He folded the note and tucked it inside the envelope with the renewed contract, sealing it. Then he lay on his couch, staring at the ceiling, the envelope a hard square against his chest.
If she says no, I lose her. But if I don't try, I lose myself.
Sleep refused to come. He turned over a dozen times, the minutes stretching unbearably. Dawn arrived, and he gave up on rest, showering and dressing before the world had fully woken. The envelope sat on the table, waiting a gamble he was finally ready to make. The doorbell rang at 10 exactly. Reina stood there, dark circles under her eyes, but her clothes immaculate, the familiar envelope of cash in her hand.
As promised. 12 months of rent. Thank you for keeping your end.
He took the money, then set it down on the entry table without counting it, without opening it.
This is my response.
She pulled out the single sheet, a fresh contract, crisp and clean, and the folded note slipped onto the floor between them. The contract read, "Renewed contract. Term 1, no expiration. Term 2, no payment. Term 3, only the truth." And on the note, a single line in his handwriting. "This isn't a contract. It's a promise. I love you." A tremor ran through her hand, then her body. Tears spilled over before she could catch them.
Hiroto.
Still trembling, Reina reached into her bag, pulled out a pen, and pressed the tip to the paper without a word. She signed her name in a jagged script, the ink a little smeared where a tear had fallen. Then she set the pen down, reached across the space between them, and took his hand, her fingers cool and sure.
You broke your own rule.
Rules change.
A fragile silence held for a heartbeat, and then his phone shattered it. He pulled it from his pocket. The screen blazed with Yuki's name and a demand for a video call. He answered, and his sister's face filled the frame, that familiar mischievous grin stretching wide.
So you two finally figured it out?
Reina stared at the screen, her expression caught between shock and dawning recognition.
Look, Hiroto had a crush on you since high school. He never shut up about you. And Reina! You always lit up when you talked about him. It was painfully obvious.
Reina's hand, still intertwined with Hiroto's, tightened almost imperceptibly.
I just gave you a reason to be together without the embarrassment. The contract was my idea, but the events were your real needs.
So the contract. It was never just business?
It was the shield you needed to be yourself around him, and it worked.
Reina turned from the screen to Hiroto, her golden eyes searching his face for something.
I already knew about the setup. I found a photo with Operation Contract written on it.
But instead of pulling away, she gave a wet, broken laugh and leaned into him, the truth settling gently between them.
The contract was convenient, but I chose you because I noticed you too. The way you read manga in your room, your small, quiet kindness, I saw it all. I was scared to act without a shield. The contract gave me an excuse to be near you.
I don't need a shield anymore. Let's stop hiding.
Their hands, still tangled, tightened as if sealing a promise. He stepped closer, and she tilted her face up, her tears catching the light. Their lips met, soft, unhurried, a confession without words. On the table behind them, the renewed contract lay signed, its terms already obsolete. When they broke apart, her smile was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen.
No expiration date. I like the sound of that.
A voice crackled from the phone, still on the table. Yuki hadn't hung up. Of course she hadn't.
Did you just kiss while I was on the line? At least warn a girl, I almost choked on my tea. Anyway, finally, my work here is done. Treat my brother right, Reina, or I'll become your worst nightmare.
You're terrifying too. I think I liked you better when you were just Hiroto's annoying sister.
You two are the scary ones. Seriously, I'm the only normal one here.
Yuki blew a kiss at the camera, her grin bright enough to light the room. Then the call ended. The screen went black. Hiroto tossed the phone onto the cushion and pulled Reina closer.
She's always been like this, but I'm grateful. Without her, I might never have had the courage.
For once, I'm glad my sister is a meddling genius, though I'll never tell her that.
Hiroto picked up the cash envelope, still unopened, and pressed it back into Reina's hand.
Keep it. Consider it my first gift as your real boyfriend.
Hiroto, this is too much. I can't just take back the payment.
I'm serious. I don't need it anymore. I have something better now.
She looked down at the envelope, then at the signed contract still lying on the coffee table.
We should frame this. The contract that brought us together.
Hiroto fished a thumbtack from a drawer and pressed the paper to the wall near his desk. The clause "no expiration date" caught the light, a small testament to a promise she had finally kept.
There. A daily reminder that I was once too scared to hold your hand.
Yesterday it was a cage. Today it's the paper that gave me her.
A week later, the cherry blossoms reached full bloom, painting the park in soft pinks and white that drifted like snowflakes. Hiroto and Reina walked the winding path, her hand in his with an ease that still surprised them both, a quiet marvel.
Your economics midterm is next week, right? Have you been studying or just reading manga?
I've been studying, mostly. Don't use your intimidating aura on me. I might actually fail.
Intimidating aura? That only works on other people. You've never once flinched.
He laughed, and the sound mingled with the rustle of petals in the breeze, warm and free.
I was terrified of you for years. I just got better at hiding it.
Good. Then my work is done. She smiled, a genuine, unguarded thing that he wished he could capture forever.
They walked on, the path ahead clear and full of light, the branches arching overhead like a blessing. Later that afternoon, they knocked on Yuki's door. She opened it with a teapot in hand, her smug grin already fully deployed.
So, I was right? Or was I right? Admit it, I'm the mastermind behind your happiness.
You're insufferable, but thank you, Yuki, for pushing me when I couldn't push myself.
Reina wrapped her arms around Yuki in a quick, fierce hug that left Yuki blinking in pleased shock.
Don't let it go to your head. She still terrifies me more than you do.
That's because she's the scarier one in this relationship. I just did the paperwork and cheered.
For the next hour, the three of them sat around the low table, trading stories and laughter that rolled easily now. Yuki recounted embarrassing childhood stories of Hiroto with merciless glee, and Reina laughed until her eyes watered.
I needed this. A real family. Thank you both.
Hiroto didn't say anything, but his hand found hers under the table and stayed there, a quiet answer she already understood. Back in his apartment, the evening light streamed gold through the windows as they settled onto the couch together. She leaned into him with a sigh, her head finding its familiar spot against his shoulder. On the wall, the framed contract caught the dying light, the handwritten no expiration date glowing faintly. Their hands rested intertwined on his knee, a quiet anchor in the fading day.
A month ago, I was terrified of her. Now this is the only place I want to be.
I'm glad I asked you.
Me too. More than any contract could say.
The room grew dimmer, but the paper on the wall remained, a promise that needed no expiration. Outside, the city murmured, but inside, there was only the sound of two hearts beating in quiet synchrony.